Hello, I'm Jenny Fern and welcome to my library. I'm a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books. So let's talk about books. Today I will be participating in the Reluctant TBR Tag created by Chloe Frizzle. Go check out Chloe's video. For those of us who have TBRs, I'm using my physical TBR because I don't really use like a digital TBR. I just have the physical books that I haven't read yet. The idea behind this is kind of what gets in like our way or in our heads about not picking up books. Like what makes us reluctant to read a book that we want to read that's on our TBR. I love the idea behind it, and I think it's such a fresh way to look at the books that you are planning on reading. Oh, this coffee is hot. So the first prompt is, it was a soft DNF. You got to some point in the book, set it aside, wandered away, and it's back on your TBR. I have quite a handful of books like this because sometimes I think I'm in the mood to read something. I'm excited to read something. I read, I don't know, it could be anywhere between like 10 pages and like 100 pages, and then I just drift off. I'm a whimsyful. I don't think I can say I'm a whimsical person. I'm not really whimsical, but I go on whims. I am carried off by whims when I'm reading, so sometimes books get left behind. I have two books to share for this. One is Middlesex. I read so much of this book. Probably about half of it, one aspect of it. This book is gross, and I definitely stopped enjoying reading this. So there are some maybe more hardcore reasons why I wasn't continuing on with this. I really would like to finish reading this book. I just want to get through this thing, but I had to put it aside for a period of time. I just don't know when I'm getting back to this. The next book that I have in this category, I think I've mentioned in videos last year that I was reading this, that I needed to finish this book and stuff like that. That's The Hunchback of Nottingham. I read so much of this book, and then I just realized I wasn't in it. I wasn't connecting into it, and I had to set it aside. I just have to find the right time for me to pick this back up again. Prompt 2. You've read another book by that author and didn't enjoy it. I have quite a lot of books by this author on my shelves. That's David Sedaris. The book that I have here is When You Are Engulfed in Flames. I love the cover. I just have had a hard time with David Sedaris. I don't really get the point sometimes, and I don't really find it that funny. Sometimes I just find them like a little bit mean-spirited or ill-informed or whatever. Sometimes I just don't connect with David Sedaris. The next prompt is, it is brand new and you don't know when you'll get around to it. I don't really have brand new books. Sometimes, rarely, I go to a bookstore and I get a book. I find it much more relaxing monetarily and like pressure-wise to enjoy the book, picking books up at thrift stores and such. I picked up The Incorporation of Eric Chung somewhat recently. This is one of my more recently acquired books. Yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna get to this. I really enjoy the cover. It's a well-designed book. I just don't know when I'm gonna get to it. Prompt number 4. The cover is painfully ugly. This is a nonfiction book called The Wave. The cover is very generic, and my biggest problem with it is there's all of this schmutz on the cover. I don't know if it's coming across, but there was like some explosion of like a can of beans or something that happened on this book. I picked this up at a thrift store. I should wipe the cover down because it is kind of gross. Prompt 5. It's a classic book that might be good for you, but you're not that interested. Dr. Jago. I barely know a single thing about what this book is about, and it's gigantic. It is a hardcover, and I got this book from one of my friends. She was like, hey, are you interested in this? And I have such a hard time saying no to books. And I'm like, this is a classic. It might be good for me. Of the classics I have on my shelves that I'm like, ugh, this is the one that is the highest on that list of fear and unsure. Prompt 6. It is humongous and intimidating. It. This is humongous. It is very long, but it is also intimidating to me. I loved the old movie for It. I've seen it such a long time ago, so I barely remember it. I saw it as a child, right? I think I'm so interested in some of the ideas in here, but then I tried to watch the more recent movie, and there was such like hateful language and like traumatizing events in the movie. I was like, oh, is that really what's the content in here? Because if so, I don't know if I'm gonna want to read that. I'm worried about it, so this one's intimidating to me. You feel like you need to read it because it's hyped, but you're not excited. That's The Night Circus. This is such a beloved book, and I am just not sure if I'm that type of person. If I'm the type of person who would love The Night Circus. I'm not convinced that I am, but I feel like I have to find out. You need to be in a specific mood to enjoy. I'm a very mood-based reader. I feel like every single freaking book up here, I have to be in a specific mood to enjoy, but I've picked out a few because I also soft DNF'd these after not that fair of a shot. But I just was like, I'm not in the mood for this. I can't read this right now. One is a book called The White Witch of Kynance by Mary Calhoun. And I think I would like to read this more towards October. Other Lands Have Dreams, From Baghdad to Peking Prison by Kathy Kelly was a book purchased when I was really passionately interested in reading books that have been written by prisoners. So I picked this up. It's just going to be on such a unique side. It maybe is going to be a little hard to get through. You're on the fence about continuing the series. One of these is a series beloved by so many people. That's The Chronicles of Narnia. I like actively hate The Chronicles of Narnia. I have enjoyed, I think, The Magician's Nephew only of the books. Is I think the only book where I was like, okay, I'm having a good time with this one. So this is a silver chair. I also have The Last Battle, and I don't even know where I left off, like The Voyage of the Dawn Treader or something like that. I don't know if I care. I used to be such a completionist in college. I would read every series fully, even if I hated it. It was something to do, right? And now I'm a little pickier about how I spend my time. So I'm on the fence on this one. The next one I have is The Full Cupboard of a Life by Alexander McCall Smith, who wrote the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. This is a book in that series, but it's more of like a detective series, so the story doesn't like go linearly, if you know what I mean. Like, they can be completed on their own. This is maybe more of a mood thing, but I don't know if I'm that committed to being in the world of the #1 Ladies Detective Agency anymore. I don't know if I need more of that. Number 10. It's been on your TBR for a long time. I've picked out so many for this. I've picked out 3 because I have a ton of books that have been on my TBR for years and years. I acquire books that I can look at and pick out at will. These 3 that I have here are books that I have considered getting rid of and then retained because I was gonna give them a chance. And I just still haven't even given them that chance. And so they're kind of weighing on me as they're still here and I don't even know if I want them. So that's The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd, 3-Star Fix by Joseph Jablonski, and Hitler's Niece by Ron Hansen. Excuse me. You ever think we sneeze the way that we sneeze because we think that's what a sneeze is supposed to sound like? Because I feel like that was like such a stereotypical sneeze. Or is that just what sneezes sound like? Number 11. It's a genre outside of your comfort zone. This is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Sometimes I wonder why I even have this because I know for a fact fantasy series that have a billion different people and are very complex are not something I'm comfortable with at all. I think sometimes The way that my brain works, it has a very difficult time with a lot of fictional people on the page. I have a hard time learning names and remembering names, and especially if I don't see the person. If I see a person and I can read their name and see them, I have an okay time putting the name and the person together. If I just hear the name and I see the person, I don't know who they are. If I just read the name and I don't see the person, I don't know who they are. So I definitely have a hard time with anything with a huge cast, and I'm fairly certain this has a huge cast with so many plot lines and so many things going on, and it's such a hardcore fantasy epic that this is really outside of my comfort zone. I'm very concerned about it. But I also know so many people who love this, and it's such a beloved series, and I feel like maybe some version of me loves this. You know what I mean? So I'm having a hard time figuring out what to do with this. Number 12. Despite owning it, you'll probably never read it. This is Brisinger by Christopher Paolini. I never read any of these books. I don't have those books. I think this is the last book. I don't know if I would ever check those books out. They were such a hot topic such a long time ago, and I don't actually know if people hold this in their hearts anymore, or if it was just a fad. Let me know if I should pick this series up. Do you think I would like this? Number 13. It's only out of obligation to a book club or a friend's recommendation. I got 2 books from my parents. My mom was like, oh my god, this book. You're gonna love this book. You gotta get it. I'm gonna give it to you. I didn't even finish reading it. Here you go. I feel so much pressure to read this because she literally gave me the copy that she was reading. And I have no idea if I will like this at all. I feel the same way about this book. This was a gift from my dad, which I've actually had for eons, probably like 10 to 8 years. It is about the life of Jesus, and I think it's supposed to be nonfiction. This comes highly recommended from my dad. I'm kind of interested in this. I can't say that I'm not interested in this. I don't know. Anyway, those are the 2 where I've been given them with high recommendations by my parents, no less, and I don't know when I'm gonna get to them. And then there's 2 more questions that I don't have any books for it. So I'll explain what they are and why I don't have any books for it. Number 14, negative reviews have made you less excited. I don't read reviews. I don't read reviews for books. So the only way I would like hear about reviews for a book before I read it is if it was like really hyped up and like a lot of people were talking about it, and I heard somebody that I watch say something lackluster about the book. I don't have anything up here where that applies, so I don't have anything to share for you. And number 15 is it hasn't come out yet. I don't have anything on my TBR that hasn't come out yet because my TBR is my physical bookshelf. I'm not up on what's coming out. I'm not a new release follower. I'm not really tracking the publishing industry super well. I can see a future where maybe I do that. It's not the current version of me. So I don't have anything. There are plenty of books that I want to read that I don't own. I just don't know what those are. There's so many books that I want to read that I don't really track. I just kind of, if I see them in the wild, I'm like, oh, perfect, I'm gonna read that. Or I have an opportunity for some reason to read the book, then I'll pick it up. I'm not that organized. I don't have all these things tracked. I'm on a whim. Those are all the books that I covered today. Maybe too many books. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this, consider sharing it with a friend who you think would also enjoy it. Consider liking and subscribing. And I don't know who to tag for this. I'm so sorry. I will put some people in the description. I'm just such a small person on this here on YouTube. I don't even have 500 subscribers, so I feel so uncomfortable reaching out to other people. I gotta be real with y'all. I don't know when it's like not appropriate for somebody who's small to be like, hey, I really like this person and I watch you, but I never talk to you, and hey, do this video, you know? So I'm so sorry, I'm so awkward. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I will talk to you again soon. Bye.